All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What's What VR. Today we have Mary Stein again with us and Tara Deering from the East Peters Parish Library. How are you guys doing today?
We are awesome,
Doing
Brandon.
great.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, Mary, thanks for coming back, and even more thanks. Thank you for bringing a friend, so we can kind of talk about. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. Terry, you're on what is it, elementary aged, or what's the official term? Kind of where do you fall? There.
I am the children's coordinator, so we service patrons ages 0 through age 11.
0 to 11.
0 to 11. Mm-hmm.
So as soon as they come out, they're ready to go.
That's
Bring them to
right,
life.
babes in arms. Actually, before they come out, because we also working with parents
Yes.
and educators, caregivers, because the child usually doesn't come on his own.
No.
Yeah.
Work with
So
all.
I've been one of them. So, well, tell me, let's dive in. One of the things we've talked about it in, some of our publications, and I think everybody just knows it, educators know it in general, is typically the summer slide, which is the backslide of just kids are just plowing through school. It's kind of like you get the momentum, right? You just kind of keep moving along. And then once you stop or you kind of get off the bike, you've got to start the process going back again.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that, with just a small 2.5 month gap, of time. But now I think the term, and you guys, I think I'll give you credit for coining the term first I've seen it, is the COVID slide. So
Right.
tell me a little of the concern there and, what you guys can do to help. And so,
Well, we've kind of heard of a couple different situations. Some of the schools were able to go virtual right off the bat, and some were not able to do that until a few weeks later. And I actually just recently found out there was one school that only just a week and a half ago was able to start going virtual. So a lot of the schools have had different variations of being able to access information for their students. And some of them required the students to come pick up packets weekly from the schools themselves because there was no virtual representation. The problem that we've seen with this COVID slide is that a lot of the kids are not getting that daily reading aspect, that continuous consistency that they get in the school year and during their regular routine. And so they go, they do their work, and then they don't actually have any sustained reading. They're not hearing people read to them. They're not reading to themselves. And so there's a lot of that missing. Those skills are not being used daily. And so it's going to affect them in the long term.
Right, because some of it depends on repetition. As Tara said, it's so vital that there's consistency. There is routine in everything. And I know at my own household with my grandson doing his Zooms, he's not doing 8 hours of Zooms. He's doing a 30-minute Zoom on what would have been a 1 hour class. He's doing a 15-minute catch-up, what normally probably would have taken 45 minutes. And some parents are able to sit and have the luxury of devoting a lot of attention to one child, but what if you've got 3 or 4, and what if the parent still has other responsibilities? So there's a little bit drift here and there.
Yes.
And sadly, with some households, there's a lot of drift. So the COVID slide is real. And going into summer where, again, normally we push the summer reading program. We push summer reading that's required for school. We push delightful reads because we'd rather trick them into reading and then force them into reading. I always want to trick them.
If they enjoy it, they'll keep doing it.
That's right.
I remember as a child there were the summer reading, read 100 books before the end of the summer, or just different things like that. So with that, I think it's important for people to realize when we're talking the summer slide, like I was saying, that's 2 maybe months, maybe 2.5, depending on where you fall. But if you start taking this window of where we are, what it looks like, and I don't want to be the guy to spread bad news or insinuate bad news, but on a best case scenario, we're all back to school as normal. You're still looking at 5 months, almost half a year.
That's a lifetime in your growth as a reader, and your logical thinking, your vocabulary, and everything else is based on that. So that's why we're trying to push out things that are fun, that we can trick the kids into doing that are somewhat interactive,
Yes.
that are on topics that they care about, as well as support whatever curriculum the schools have been able to muster through.
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a
Lots
lot
of them.
conversations with teachers and school administrators, school librarians, parents. And that's kind of some of the stuff that we'd like to share with you today,
Yeah.
because in a normal school year, we're sitting on tons of wonderful digital resources as well as print resources. But we're still sitting on those resources, but I can open the door for you right now to the digital resources.
Yeah.
And you don't miss anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last time we talked, we spent a lot of time,
Sure.
we talked about, the digital library and a lot of the resources for businesses and things like that. But what, all these schools, we've talked to a number of them where, 36 hours pivot, kids are coming to school, one day on a Friday, and then on a Monday, it's like, no, you're not coming. So we've got to keep doing this. Some schools have had resources, available to them. Others haven't. And I would say, I'm looking through a list, kind of, reading kind of through some show notes of, what we're going to talk about today. But you guys have a huge number of these resources, whether your school's using some of them, whether they're not using some. If you're just trying to say, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but these are digital resources. These are things the kids can do online on an iPad, to where if you are a parent and having to maybe do some work and you can't spend all those times, these are fun. So it's kind of, we're going to, back to what you're saying, we're going to kind of hide this learning experience inside of, something digital that the kids like.
Bright and engaging, but totally founded on sound educational principles. The content is there. So Scholastic, World Book, you can't go better than those two for the kids' lines.
Absolutely.
But we have so many wonderful products, and especially with reluctant readers.
Oh, we've got tons for them.
Oh, if you want sharks, we've got sharks. If you want to blow things up, we can do it. If you want fiction or nonfiction, we have it. Yeah. And we also have it with Audible, because especially our younger readers, or our emerging readers, they like the comfort. A lot of the resources that Tara has are kind of like see and say, and they will be talking along with you as you're reading.
Gotcha. So, and these are for, let's, go back, we're talking digital and, library. We're not expecting the super young ones to, maybe find the website, find the app and put it together. But this is something a parent can set up, easily and kind of do the handoff. They don't have to sit there and, move the mouse for them every time. This is easy stuff, for elementary kids,
That's right.
It's a much easier interface for them. It's made specifically for their age groups. And we have some for ages 2 to 6. We have some that are specifically for pre-K through second. And then we have others that are geared towards 3rd through 6th. So we have definitely a range available for them to fit their learning level.
And Tara, I'm assuming just, we spoke, last week, this is your wheelhouse, right? So if we've got, parents who go, you know what, I want to help the kids, I want to help mine. I want to give them something to do. They want another game. I'd rather them learn something from the game. But I don't know. I'm at the library's website. I'm seeing 1,000 options. I've already got my digital library card. I don't even know where to start. What should they do? Is that something you can direct them?
Yes. Actually, the very first thing that they can do is they can click on, there's a big purple box that says web page walkthrough. And it's a great walkthrough, our entire website for the kids. It goes through each of our different links and different pages to helpful resources for them. Some of it is fun stuff. Some of it is specifically for homework. And then there's virtual tours through the museums and more. There's all kinds of things. And it also takes you a walkthrough through for anyone who's not familiar with where to start on our kids page.
Gotcha. And something I want, maybe I'm jumping on a limb here that I'm pretty sure is, solid. A lot of companies and a lot of people have done this, COVID pivot, that we're offering this or we have these services. These aren't services that you guys just brought in, real quick because of COVID. These are things that you guys have pre-COVID, during COVID, post-COVID. So if you get,
Absolutely.
the little ones into this, if they, like the scholastics, or if they love the Musi language or the Pebble Goes, those types of things, it's like,
Yes.
this doesn't stop. Like, there's a lot of companies I've
Correct.
seen that
No.
are saying, we're offering our platform until, July 1st, at no cost. And this
Yeah, no,
is
this is definitely a
ongoing.
permanent platform.
Yeah.
This is everything that we have now that we're talking about today on the website is actually stuff that we provide, whether it's COVID or not. This is still going to be around after COVID, and we're still growing it. We're still adding to it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we come across something new that is just a great resource that we can offer to our patrons, we try and jump on it if we can.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's something to point out, I wanted to say, that's what you guys are doing during the day, helping, people on the phone, helping them, and, when they can come in, but it's also looking for these resources. These companies don't just go call you up and say, hey, will you, give my product, to people. This is work,
Right.
finding them, putting agreements together,
Right.
how we can then use it, how we get it on the website, how do we incorporate it through the walkthrough, all that stuff, right?
Right. There's a lot of rate and review before we add a database, especially for children, because you don't want to start something that you can't continue with
Right.
children, especially.
Yeah.
So before we added Pebble Go, or before we added AbdoZoom or Miss Humblebee, the children's room staff got trials. They tested it. It's kind of like they tried to break it. And they said, if I was a kid, I'd do this. And what happens when they do it? So they tried to use it correctly, and then they tried to use the product
Incorrectly.
the way a patron might, and they looked at the results, and then they kind of have their chart where it's kind of like, yeah, it's good for this, it's good for this. I won't use it for XYZ, but I'll reference it for ABC, and then they decide, is it something that we want to add to our suite? Because we have about 160. That's a lot. And if we have, but we want the right 160.
Right.
You don't add stuff just to add it. You make sure that it has the depth and breadth that we want. And especially for our audiences, that it's easy to use, reliable, that we're confident in the information, that the content is good, and that it's easy to use.
Yes. That's the biggest thing we're asked for all the time is ease of use.
Right.
So.
And we're always learning something new about these things. So while the staff essential staff have been coming in, but a lot of the staff couldn't. So you can bet they've been working their way through the digital library.
Oh, yeah.
And they've discovered many new things about the World Book platform that I'm very excited to hear.
Yeah, World Book platform was so much bigger than we thought it was. Most of our patrons click on the Dark Blue World ebook button we have on our kids page, and they think it's just World eBooks because that's all it says on the button. But if you click on the little World Book Products link on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, it actually brings you to the landing page that has more than a dozen different World Book platforms built within the same software. And so we actually have our database, we have access to all of them. So we have an activity corner, we have dramatic learning, we have science power, social studies power. We have 3 different databases for research, one for kids, one's for middle and high school, and one is for adults. There's a French encyclopedia, there's an Arabic encyclopedia, and a Spanish encyclopedia, all for early language learners. So it's a lot of stuff that we didn't even know was there until recently.
It was like a Discover Waldo kind of moment. So we got so excited that in this month's issue of the newsletter, which some people have in print, if you're the lucky one, but thousands have seen it online. It's on the homepage. We always have the newest issue on the homepage under the word source. And the entire issue is all about digital products. And we spent 2 pages on the World Book because we were so excited about it. So that's a place to go.
It sounds interesting. That's something, that I guess it even, you guys get surprised, just as regular business gets evolved and you guys open, with new branches and new platforms and things you can do. These online and these digital products, these companies continue to evolve themselves. And
they
that
do.
Means we're going to be, so maybe if you've been to the World Book platform a year ago, come
Go
back. There's
back.
been a year worth of improvements,
Yes.
to the platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
With many platforms, it's like that. They're constantly competing with each other, and they're upping their game. There is a competition there. So
Yeah.
if one adds a module or adds a feature, then that its peers won't be far behind to do something where they say, "Oh, look at us." This World Book thing had this really cool timeline. I'm a freak for timelines, and it's got this great timeline thing, and then it had something for kind of like Earth Day, which we were so excited to find it. It was kind of like, if only we were still doing Earth Day, because we had something big planned, but we'll be ready for next year.
That's
now.
right.
But again, more and more of the databases are adding interactives. So the World Book had activities. And if you had kids, whether you're homeschooling or soon you'll be summer schooling, activities where they've already done all the thinking for you, and it's reliable, and you won't blow up the house. That's always a plus.
A good thing.
So I'm just so happy with the tools, with what we have in that children's toolbox, if you want to call it that. Really good platforms. And of course, books. So many books. But I love the fact that you can hear them read out loud if that's what you need to be a confident reader.
Yeah.
And that's something, one thing you were talking about, this is, we're saying these are early child, but there's content that goes all the way up into, the high school level, additional.
Yes.
This isn't just, elementary.
Right, and it doesn't look baby. It does.
No.
Yeah.
It's very well done. It's not very juvenile looking. It's juvenile friendly, but it's not juvenile specific.
And of course, in our area, we struggle with reading levels, and we have a lot of citizens who don't read past a fourth grade reading level. So here we have a level playing field for adults, reluctant readers who are struggling teens or young adults who they graduated from high school, but they're not that confident in their reading. Here's some great choices to get well done material, organized well, on so many topics that might be of interest to you, but that are attainable. The reading level is attainable. Yeah. We have a lot of groups that work as tutors with adults who are working on their literacy skills, who use the resources. And we love the fact that they don't look like baby books. They just look like really cool resources.
Well, I was going to kind of kind of dove on that. I got what I was called as a pro tip. As busy as I kind of tend to be, run around. I'd worked with someone before, and they were doing audiobooks and listening to everything on the audiobook. And I'd say, well, I do some audiobooks, and I just, I was like, I just got a million things. They go, well, you need to do it. I get audiobooks, even though I like to read, but I can speed up the audiobook faster than I can actually read it. So she was telling me that she'll move it to almost 5-6 times the speed. And I was like, no. So I went and kind of, it's like, I can consume all of that content so much faster, and still do some other things in the same process.
Right. Paint your house, work on your fence, work on your yard, chalk your walk. You can do all those things while you're listening to a book.
Yeah.
Exactly. So tell me, what is, on top of all this digital content, there's also, you guys have got some virtual programs, that are kind of rolling their way through, with, just different, whether it be activities online.
We're working on rolling out a whole summer's worth of programs.
Yeah. We don't have our schedule solidified yet, but we are working on being able to host some live performances, and some recorded performances, as well as putting out some virtual craft programs. We're looking into being able to record the crafts as they're being done. We have a few of those that we've done already, but we would like to make some more and make those available to people who do have the digital access. And then we'll also partner that with a paper version for those that don't have the digital access as well. But we have lots of digital programming in the works. Weekly story times, we're going to continue those for as long as we're able to during the summer. and we would like to go through the whole summer. And we have weekly craft programs right now. They're on Wacky Wednesdays and Family Fun Fridays, but we will continue those in a different vein during the summer, so that rather than having them just on certain days of the week, we're actually going to try to have things twice a day, Monday through Friday during the summer. So that's our plan.
And that way, if you are doing your summer staycation and you're trying to, again, have a routine, have a schedule, which everyone says is better for everyone, it's healthier, and helps prevent behavior issues. That way you can kind of have something to hang on to. And we're going to try to kind of build out your camp day with resources and live virtual events and other things. We'll talk a little bit more about that as it gets closer to June, and all that will be in the June newsletter, and it'll be pushed out on social media and the usual channels, and it'll be front and center on the website. Because we just don't know when people will be coming back into the building and at what level they'll be coming. So we do know that we won't be able to start programming right away. Right. Many of our programmers, our presenters, are not going to be traveling. Right. And if you can't have but 10 people in the program where you used to have 300, that
big difference.
We're working on that. So by June 1st, it'll all be out on the newsletter. It'll be on the website. It'll be on social media. And Tara's kids page, they have their own Facebook page. The library has one, which has, a fair number of followers. But if you're interested just in the kids programs, we would invite people to like the kids page.
Yes, the EBRPL Kids on Facebook. And we have lots of our virtual programming being posted on that Facebook page. We have lots of information for parents about resources they can use at home during this time of the quarantine. And we've been pushing stuff out since day one of the quarantine, extra information for parents and for caretakers. And then trying to just keep them busy. We've got weekly challenges we've been issuing, and we'll be putting those out until we start our summer programming. And we're just trying to push as many things out as we can.
Give people options.
And to give people options, because they may not like one, but they might like another. Give them some options there. And just trying to spread the love of reading and keep them interested, keep them engaged, and keep them active. So
you were talking about the programming and getting people in. I thought it was funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, you ought to get a speaker, for, your thing that they were doing. And they kind of looked at me and go, it's a little short notice. And I was like, but yeah, if you're a speaker, you don't have many venues to get to right now that you can do your big public speaking. So putting some of that programming online to where maybe somebody didn't have the time to get out, and the thing that I found that that I've really enjoyed with all of this is when it goes online, it's just like when it's live, you've got it for the most part, but then when it's online, you've got it on demand, where you can record a lot of these things. People can come back and see them. If they find one thing that they like, they can move to the next and just progressively work through and and that's what I've noticed with going to the library site. It's this, red pill, blue pill, rabbit hole all the way down. And then you kind of come back there and you're like, I've just been all over the place. I'm still on the same site. So.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a ton.
And that's why talking to the staff is always great.
Yeah.
So the staff is answering the telephone from 10 to 2 right now, but starting the week of May 18th, those phones will be answerable a lot more. Yeah. We will be able to extend the hours as the stay-at-home is lifted and staff are able to come back into the building. There's only so many calls I can forward to Tara's house. So the phones will be a lot more loosened, and it'll be a great time to call and talk to a professional. Librarians are standing by and find out what's the best topic, what's the best tool, what's the best combination for your particular situation. Brandon, I also like the fact that many of the things that are in the children's room are useful for the whole family. Yes. So whether it's culturegrams or A to Z World Food, people are really discovering food. There's a lot of kids who are cooking at home. And of course, the possibilities are endless there with math and language and logical sequencing. So there's all kind of STEM and STEAM there. Plus it's the fun of cooking and making a mess. And then maybe it's delicious and maybe it's terrible, which is equally fun for the family. But we have something called culturegrams, and we have something called A to Z World Food, where you could work your way around the globe with the customs and the food pathways, the food ways of each culture. And kids really dig that. So that's a fun thing to try. And then if you use Muzzy for languages, you could be learning that language that goes with that country and have a French night or a Spanish night, or really go far back and have Latin night. Yeah. Everybody wear a toga.
And culturegrams is, like you said, the red and blue pill. You can definitely get sucked into culturegrams, and you can just stay in the same country and learn so much and not know that you've been on there for hours.
Right.
You can learn about their culture. You can learn about their people. You can learn about their landmarks, their agriculture, their language, their history, and it'll even teach you short phrases and words in their language. It'll give them examples of recipes that will then can be looked up in that A to Z World Foods. So there's so much to be found in culturegrams. It's one of those rabbit holes too.
Yeah, just like the National Geographic, that's
absolutely.
My grandson found the NOVA program, where the animals are really robot drones out there in the wilderness disguised as the animals, spies, the animal spies. There's things like that in these products as well.
Yeah.
And for especially someone who pretends they don't like school and they don't like anything except video games, here's a good way to draw them in. Exploring things through National Geographic and through the science, the interactive science, where you can dissect something online. I mean, who wouldn't love that?
A lot of boys would like that.
but there's no formaldehyde and there's no bad smell.
No.
So we love
and no mess.
To dissect.
yeah. And then later on, and it won't be too long. You'll be able to come back to the library, get fresh books, fresh magazines, fresh playaways that you can listen to, playaway launch pads, which is kind of like a little iPad with instructional games that are disguised as fun. But we also have Arduino kits that you can check out. And the whole family could be building robots, and you could be having your own spy robots. Find out what the cat really does at night.
Well, that was one of the things y'all had mentioned. I had in the notes, that you guys are actually either you're planning or have some activity packets, for, parents to pick up maybe. Is that, did I hear that right?
Yes, we will. It'll be grab and go, GEAUX.
That's right.
So tell me, what is that? So for somebody who maybe doesn't have, maybe they don't have the way to get digital, or they're looking for something. They think there's, I'm a huge digital guy, but I think there's also, I've learned just as digital as I've gotten. I went to a doctor before all this, and they hand me the chart, and they're with the clipboard and the pen, they're fill this out. And I'm like, I got to write. I've lost the skill of writing.
What is this
Got to keep those tactile skills going. Yeah.
So I'm assuming the packets would have something that would help, kind of along some of those lines.
Sure, it would be paper.
Yeah, it's a paper packet. It'll be a Monday through Friday plan sent out or put out each week to be picked up here at the library at all the different locations. And we're working on doing a new one each week with various different crafts and activity suggestions. And the agenda or the schedule will be sort of a set schedule, but it'll have some empty spots so they can pick and choose from the activities provided to fill in their own schedule based on the child's age and their reading level and also their skill set for crafts and such. So there'll be a little bit for the younger, a little bit for the older, and they can mix and match and maybe make it something for the whole family with the packet.
That's good.
Awesome.
While the libraries have been closed, we've actually been sneaking a few across the street to Front Yard Bikes, because they're doing a food for the school children. And so they're very near the Carver Branch Library. So every day the Carver Branch manager dashes across the street with her mask on and makes sure that they have a few new things for their packets.
Yeah.
But we can't wait until we can get people back in the building, but we must wait. So,
but we're getting closer. That's the good thing.
We are.
We are close.
Yeah.
So tell me, is there anything, maybe we've missed or, from a, time? I know there's so many things that we're trying to, kind of run through in here, and it's.
Well, with summer reading is going to be going virtual as well this summer, but we will have a paper component. So you'll be able to do it either paper or online, but we will have that coming, and we'll have that information in our June source, and a little bit closer to June, we can kind of give you a little bit more information about that. We have some other programs that are still going to be ongoing. Reading is Elementary. That program is encouraging kids to read throughout the school year, whether it be the stuff that they're reading for school already, they'll get credit for that, but also their personal reading through the summer, through their sustained reading in addition to their school readings, and anything they might read on other times. And they'll receive patches for goals reached during that program. And once they reach 50 books, they actually get their name put into a drawing that we will have annually for a gift card. And their name stays in the pot all the way through 5th grade. So as many times as what they can get those entries in, they'll have just that many more chances to win a gift card every year.
And there's something about noting that you've read something. The same way with the little ones, we do 1,000 books before kindergarten. I know at my own household with my grandson, the simple act of forcing yourself to write down the fact that you read a book, whatever book it was, as illegible as my handwriting is, I've been writing them down, and before you know it, he's saying, "Oh, did you write it on the list? Did you write it on the list?" Because the list is getting longer and longer and longer.
Right.
And there's a commonly used phrase that used with discipline, actually, that if you didn't write it down, it never happened.
Yeah.
But the same is true for this positive thing.
Yeah.
You think you're going to remember, oh yeah, I read books, but going and writing it down, the act of recording it makes it concrete. And for some weird psychological reason, that helps with the habit building and the habit forming. It's the same way with food diaries or having walking journals or, those kinds of things. Putting it to paper or digital paper, however you're going to record it. But that one extra step makes it more real, and you're more likely to keep doing it. So that's why we decided to go with 1,000 books after kindergarten, beyond kindergarten, because we know that if they don't keep reading until the end of 4th grade, they won't be strong readers. And there goes society. So
that's going to make, I can tell you, every sales manager, business development manager out there, is they all say, if it's not, in the CRM, if it's not in the CRM, then it didn't happen. That's
there you go.
Right.
So
that's it.
Starting them early, document it, what you do. So, well, that summer
programs.
Well, I was going to say, the summer packets that you've got are all ages, right?
Exactly.
It's not just
Even
younger,
adults.
it goes all the way through.
Yeah.
We are going to have programs for every age.
Yeah. So we'll plan another chat with you about the whole summer reading program and how we're pivoting.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have our program schedule that we could share with you at that point.
Right, because my dream is that where the online calendar used to be filled with 1,000 programs to come into the library and attend, it'll be filled with 1,000 programs that you can attend digitally. And again, help plan your day. Yeah. We can't all just sit on the couch and binge. At a certain point, you just can't do that anymore if you're going to go forward with your life. So we're going to try to ease back into a normal schedule, but with fun stuff. That's our goal. But if kids are still working on homework, or if they're going to be doing some kind of summer school situation, please remember that we have tools for that too. Learning Express, Homework Louisiana, there are options, and you're not alone out there. So they just need to call the library and talk to the children's librarian and get some advice. That's what they're there for.
We want you to know.
You don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, Mary, as usual, thank you.
Thank you,
Tara,
Brandon.
awesome to meet you and get you a chance to, kind of see what you do. Thank you for what you're doing for the kids in the community right here. This is,
Thank you.
it's a lot of stuff, and I hate using it. I'm tired of the word pivot at this point, but
Me too.
the way everyone's had to pivot, and you guys, it doesn't sound like a pivot. It's more of just get the message out of what we did already.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. And thank you for helping us get the message out.
Yes, thank you very much.
Anytime, we absolutely will. So thank
All
you
right.
guys.
Take
All right.
care.
Thank you.
You too. All right.